have Slingshot over here.
Come on! Oh my god! Oh,
What happens,
fear. What is up, guys? How you doing? I hope that you guys are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it might be for you. This video is about the roles of the game, which not very many people know about or talk about, and that's because it's not really a total, like, true thing. It's just something that me and my team have been using, and we've just been absolutely slaying with, like, super hard. It's really nice. And it's not super hard to, you know, grasp just because there's other games like it, you know, other games like Overwatch have their roles, and so you learn your role and you start to play your role to the best of your ability. But anyway, let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. Thank you guys for even clicking on the video in the first place. I hope that you do enjoy it, and yeah, I'll talk to you in a sec. Okay, so this video is gonna be about, like, you know, both sides, both roles, you know, and then I, like, totally recorded way too much for Striker, and so now you're gonna get a separate video for support later on, because I'm dumb and I forgot to make it shorter. So anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, moving on to the video. Now, first, I'm very heavily going to be talking about Striker, which is what I play. So if you watch my streams or anything, twitch.tv/Tzboom, you will get to see how a very high-end, you know, Striker player actually plays. Now, what the Striker role truly is knowing to build a weapon that is to clear a stigma. Now, some people might think, well, why wouldn't you always build a weapon to get rid of a stigma? Just trust me, it'll start to make sense once I start to explain some things. Now, for the Striker, very specifically, there are certain mods and stuff that you'll run on your weapon, certain perks that you run, rather than, you know, being a more supporting character, which is what I'll talk about a bit later. Now, as a Striker, some of the most important things are knowing your weapon mods that you want to run as Striker to make you much more lethal, rather than, you know, playing very passively. Now, there's a place and time to play passively as Striker, but most of the time you're building, you know, the much simpler weapons, the much more consistent weapons, whether that be sword, Raygun, Flamethrower, cross, like all of those are very Striker-styled weapons. Sometimes the RC, sometimes something like Enigma can be very offensive if you do it right, but, you know, it's a matter of your playstyle, and you gotta know how to stick to your role very securely, but that's a little bit hard to get used to, and that's why I'm here to try to help you to, you know, explain to you what you might be trying to do, just making you understand what it is that you're doing, because there's a lot of people who are already playing very Striker style. There's also a lot of people who are playing very support style. They just don't really know what they're doing wrong or right to really make a big impact in the game that they're currently in for their team, helping their team out, and just really sticking to your role. Now, how do you keep doing what you're doing and doing it even better if you're already playing somewhat of a Striker role already, right? That's what you probably want to know, because you have a play style, you probably just don't know how to explain it, and so I'm here to help you understand and explain it to you. When you are the Striker, you are probably going to end up being the person that pretty regularly on your team ends up getting a minimum of 2 stigmas per game. Sometimes a more supportive player will get a stigma, that's normally how it goes, but if you watch my games, my standard, even with my team, who's ridiculously good, they know to get me stigmas. So I normally get 3 stigmas and somebody else gets 1. That's just how it is. It's not necessarily a matter of skill. Like, yes, I know that I'm pretty good at Striker, but the only reason that I'm able to be as good at Striker and get those 3 stigmas is because my teammates are very good at supporting me, and my other Striker knows exactly when he can help me and when I need to help him. And so kind of just figuring that out and learning that is extremely valuable, and will make you way more valuable on any team. You don't even have to be playing with the team. Like, even in solo queue, it's way more helpful to know what you are there to do and learning how to adapt to your players that are in your lobby that you're playing with. Now, for monsters, figuring out who is who might be very, very important, because if you get rid of both of the support players like pretty quickly, that might be more valuable than getting rid of the strikers. It depends on the skill level mostly for that. But for monster players, really kind of look out and see what kind of weapons certain players are building and really try to pinpoint exactly what you're more afraid of. Are you more afraid of a solar flare slowing you down just enough for somebody to come in with a cross and just clear the holy stigma on you? Or are you more worried about somebody randomly popping out of a corner and just killing you, who is, you know, the striker role normally? If you watch me and what I do, you'll definitely see that a lot. It's fun. But, you know, just trying to figure out how to stay in your striker role and not lean one way or the other. Because sometimes you have to forego healing teammates. A lot of times, actually. Sometimes you have to forego being near teammates to just go be on your own and force the monster onto you. Which is very scary if you don't feel consistent with yourself. You know, if you're not feeling it like 100%. You gotta get to that point where you're no fear. Like, if you watch my streams, you'll see I've never had fear in this game. Like, there were some points where I've had a little bit, but for the most part, it's always been, if I take a hit, that's on me. That's fine. I'm still alive. Going in. It's all that matters. Okay. So, you know, just learning how to be much more fearless is a very, very big, important part, and knowing that you're going to be the one getting stigmas. Also, don't get a big head if you're the one who gets a 3 stigma or 4 stigma consistently. Like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. But at the same time, if you have good support players, they make it 100 times easier to get that 4 stigma. And that's because they know what they're doing and they know their role to a T. And it's very, very, very impressive to see a very good support player really, really running support. So, you know, just try to watch out for that and don't. Like I said, don't get a big head. Otherwise, people are going to be looking bad at you. Now, just really fast, I would like to go over some of the mods that I personally run, and I think that if you're a striker, you could very, very easily be running. Unfortunately, I can't show you in-game because the beta is currently down right now. It's a little rough, but luckily we have the Wikipedia, which, you know, if you need any information, you can definitely check that out. Just look at VHS, the game wiki, you'll figure it out. Anyway, so we're just going to go down the list here, obviously. Burn, Shock, Purify, Cursed. But yeah, let's just go into it. First, Flamethrower. Personally, I would recommend either base or under pressure if you are playing striker. Flare up is just not very good. On fumes is just weird, and burnout is very supportive. Same with cheap fuel. Cheap fuel is also very supportive. Fire bombs. If you're running fire bombs, bottled up can be okay, but the entire purpose of the Molotov is that you can craft it faster, which I personally like, so I don't recommend bottled up, but if you're trying to figure it out and learn it a bit more, go for it. To the brim is okay. Hot foot, I think, is actually one of the best. I don't think that there's a very big downside for what you actually get for it. What it does is it makes it so that anybody on your team who runs through the fire ends up gaining a speed boost for a little bit, much like what is it? Much like Gale Force, actually, on the Cursed Sword. And like I said, it really doesn't have that big of a, you know, drawback. Lasting burns, there's not really much use. And all in the wrist, I'm sure that there's a use for it, especially for striker. I just personally have yet to really mess around with it. Next up, solar flare. Jewel polish, if you have it, put it on, but if you have dancing spark, really put that on, because that turns the solar flare from an only defensive weapon to a very offensive weapon that you can do some crazy stuff with, and be a very nice hybrid of, you know, runner and striker and support, and just absolutely murking the monster and making them sad. Blazing Sentry isn't really that great. Solar Revelation, Flame Charmer is pretty supportive. I wouldn't recommend it if you're running striker. Next up, Raygun. Light it up, don't really recommend it. Burst Energy, don't really recommend it. Forked Shot, If you're not great with the aim yet, go for it. Like, definitely go for fork shot. But try to get to a point where you don't really feel the need to use it, because it really makes kiting very, very easy, which is, you know, kiting is a very, very striker thing to do after a while, because sometimes you're the only one who has a weapon, and you gotta know how to do it, like, consistently. Stunning Victory, it's nice for support, but not really a striker thing. And Trick Shot, once again, I'm sure there's a lot of viability with it. I just personally have yet to use it. You know, I do recommend that you try to go out and, you know, figure a lot of this stuff out for yourself as well, because it's really, really fun. And I know that Trick Shot's fun, I just cannot use it yet very effectively. The RC Flyer. Honestly, engine amp, you don't really need long shot, you don't really need sensor array, you don't really need all or nothing, but staying power, if you're gonna run a mod for the RC, run staying power. It's just so good to pass up. Like, it's really, really nice, and the drawback isn't super big, but you know, it's still there, but you don't really notice it too much. Now, with Shock Sphere, this one, it's not really a great weapon for striker or support, so you can kind of just do whatever you want. Like, boosting Jolt is okay, Aberration Sensor is okay, Rapid Charging is okay. Like, all of them are very okay, so I guess just try to figure out which one works best for you, and call it good. I don't even remember which one. I think that I use Boosting Jolt because I'm very, very basic with the Shock Sphere. Now with the Radiant Cross, Angelic Fury, nobody should be running that. Divine Light, and maybe Hollowed Ground. Crucifier, not for Striker. Saving Grace, yes. If you are a Striker, you should be running Saving Grace because it gives you another option, right? A lot of this game is trying to know your options and knowing how to use them very effectively. And Saving Grace is pretty much just like the base cross. You just have another option as long as you know to either, you know, back down and take the hit, or let Saving Grace kick in and, you know, eat the cross for you. And it can just be really nice. For the Slingshot, let's be real, the Slingshot is probably not going to be used in most team comps, but if you are really going for some stuff, add higher power. Honestly, it's what I run, it's what I've been running for a long time. Higher power is fantastic, and I heavily recommend it if you really feel like you're good with the Slingshot. Sacred Staff. Now, this one is a little weird because pretty much nothing in the Sacred Staff is good for Striker. It's all very supportive, and even then, the Sacred Staff still isn't super valuable. The only one that can sort of almost be Strikery is Revelations. What that does is whenever you are healing yourself or you're healing somebody else, you are revealed to the monster, but like, it's still not that good. It's really rough, but you know, you might figure it out. Somebody might find something, but it's just kind of not the move most of the time. Now, for the Cursed Sword, Swordsmith is pretty decent, actually. I don't necessarily recommend it for strikers who are pretty, you know, good at the game, pretty adept, if you want to go with that. Just because you should already be very consistent with just the 10 swings. Mighty Swings, you don't normally want to run. Gale Force, it's a very support thing. Curse Blade, it's once again very support thing. And Demonic Mark, that's the only other one that's really very striker sided, I would say. You can use it as support, but you know, just it's nice sometimes, but it also really hinders you. So I would either say just run Swordsmith if you're a newer player, and if you're more experienced, just run the base Cursed Sword. I've been doing it for a while, and I have absolutely no problems with it. Now, with the Infernal Eye, this one's a little weird because the Infernal Eye can be very supportive or very in your face at all times, which is really nice for Striker, but you know, you'll figure it out. I personally use, I believe, just stare down. It's pretty basic, pretty easy. You just get more charge, which is really nice. But you know, figure out which one of these actually does work well for you. I don't have a lot of experience with the eye, hence why I can't really make a lot of claims for it, other than the fact that stare down is just a good mod for it. And if you want something that's very basic and just makes you a little bit stronger for not a big downfall, stare down's a good way to go. Now for Enigma, this is where it gets very interesting, mostly based on your team and your skill. So base Enigma is really solid for strikers, actually. It's very good. But when you dip into the mods, things start to get a little wacky, you know, a little crazy out here. Dead Silent, don't recommend it. Death Wish, I don't really recommend it. Renewed Hope, it's a cool idea, but Blood Offering, I think that there are actually going to be some really big plays with Blood Offering. I just personally don't use it. It's just not really in what I do, but I'm sure that there's going to be some like crazy uses for it that we'll definitely start to see, you know, later down the line. Now, Demonic Pact. This is where it can be very game changing. If you don't know what Demonic Pact does, I should actually explain the downside first. What the downside is that whenever you are actively charging, like no matter how far away you are from the monster, if you are charging, you are completely revealed and the monster can see that you are charging, and they will definitely come down and hunt you. It's a fun time, but it's really sketchy, and this is where it kind of plays into your team and your skill. The upside for this is that you get to craft the Enigma 25% faster, which makes it a 20-second craft on average, right? Which is ridiculous already as it is. Like, that is so fast. But then for some reason there's a common misconception that you charge it faster. That's false. You don't charge it faster at all. You craft it faster and you consume 25% less energy, which basically just means that you have more ammo, which is really nice because it makes it feel like you can kind of kite a little bit easier with it, which is really nice. Now, the reason that it's very game changing is base Enigma, obviously they don't see you. They can hear you if they're within like 4 or 5 meters of you, but this just completely shows exactly where you are, and this makes you really good bait. And so you got to kind of figure out how to play around that and just, you know, kind of call it good. Now, just some general like tips and what you should actually be focusing on if you really do want to become that striker role. Number one, ambushing. Learn it. It's not overly hard. It's a little bit of an art form, but once you get that art form, you'll be chilling. Basically, ambushing is very simple, but it's something that has a very high skill ceiling and it's very map knowledge based. So the more map knowledge that you have, the better chance you have at actually ambushing properly. A lot of it comes down to you stealthing behind a door for a second and having your teammate run directly to you while they're getting chased from the monster and poking your head out of nowhere with a cross, burning their flesh and saying, "Hey buddy, you're dead now. Hasta luego. I see you looking at me," right? And then they're just gone for like 12 seconds or whatever. Okay? That's your mentality, is I'm here to murder you, but you don't know that I'm even here in the first place. That's your goal, okay? Like, it's really nice to be able to pull that off consistently, and it seriously is one of the most valuable things that you can learn. A lot of it comes down to, like I said, hiding behind a door for a second, hiding in a classroom for a second or something in high school. Maybe finding a weird, funny stealth spot where you can just chill for a second and let your teammate run to you. A lot of it is just letting the monster fall right into your hands. It's great. You don't have to do any work for it once you know some good spots. It's really nice. After a while, you'll start to just kind of learn some very valuable areas and very valuable ways to get to those areas more efficiently and more effectively so that you can be in position a lot faster. And, you know, hopefully have a chance that the monster will just not hear you at all, even though you know you're there, and you might think that it's obvious. The monster probably can't hear you. That's one thing that you really do have to keep in mind, is the monster probably can't hear you a lot of the time. Sometimes they can. Sometimes they'll be able to figure out, oh, hey, there's a person with a cross right behind here. I need to armor up. I need to howl. I need to back off, teleport, send a doll in, you know, just all that good stuff, as some people would say. So ambushing is extremely valuable. Next thing, knowing how and when to chase after a monster. Because sometimes it's really, really good to chase after a monster. If your teammates say push him into me or something, and you know exactly where they are, you can force the monster into your teammates and they can ambush. It's really kind of convoluted, but once you start to figure it out, it's not that bad. And as long as you have good team communication, which is oh so important, and if you don't have good team communication, please learn a lot of the callouts on the maps. Make sure to ping all the time. I know that some people think that it's annoying. If they think it's annoying, then why are you playing VHS as teen? Go play Monster. Right, like, I'm not kidding. If you get annoyed by pinging, you can turn the volume down even. Just turn the volume down if you really hate pinging that much. Anyway, you get my point, where being able to push the monster and have absolutely no fear is ridiculously valuable, and having no fear in this game at all is way, way more valuable than almost anything that you can do for Striker or a more supportive playstyle. It does not matter. As long as you have as long as you have no fear, that's what matters. Like, that's truly, truly, truly what matters. And then I guess another thing that's really, really important is just constantly knowing when to be around your teammates and when to be on your own. I know it's a little scary sometimes to just be on your own, even without a weapon. There's a lot of times where you should just be running around on your own, you know, maybe grabbing a soda, grabbing a chompy bar, stuff like that, rather than always working on a weapon. And this is coming from somebody who has a weapon every, like, 25 seconds, it feels like, to monsters. There's a lot of times where monsters have no idea how I have a weapon again, and then I just do, out of nowhere, and they're just confused. If you can learn how to prioritize weapon crafting over healing, over getting, you know, sodas, anything like that, that's a very, very valuable thing. And just being able to comfortably run on your own, because you know the loops, you know where you can run, you know how far you can probably get, you know what you can do. And if you're able to buy your teammates a bunch of time even without a weapon, imagine what you can do with a weapon. Like, that's terrifying for monster players, because if you watch me, I don't normally if I have 100 on a cross, if I ever clear a stigma and I'm on, you know, 100 when I start firing, that to me is a really bad play. It's total waste. Avoid doing that, okay? Try to really, really wait for a while and then really just dunk on them as soon as you're down to, you know, 40-ish. Down on your cross, at least. There's other weapons, you know, Flamethrower, you want to be down to about 30. Just trying to learn those numbers and knowing, you know, how to push. And like I said, be fearless is really, really, really good. And just knowing how to prioritize things are very, very good. Well, thank you guys so very much. Y'all are absolutely beautiful. I hope that you did enjoy this video, and I hope that it was very helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can comment down below, obviously. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to like or whatever you want to do. If you really hated the video, I guess you could give it a thumbs down, but if you do, I won't know, but it's fine. You'll make me sad anyway. I'll figure out a way. I promise. Anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, any questions down in the comments. I stream on Twitch 4 days a week, so I hope to see you there sometime, and I hope that you are able to enjoy my content. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, maybe subscribe if you do just enjoy my content all around. And yeah, hope that you have a wonderful day.